You're a book club, right?
Do you have like a standard email?
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to Women Who Code.
Okay, because I'm like,
Sorry. I don't whistle, so it's one skill I don't have. I can't whistle and get everyone's attention. I can scream really loud, but I won't do that. I'm Holly. I founded Women Who Code Austin 2.5 years ago while I was going through boot camp Maker Square. I don't know if there are any other Maker Square grads here. Are there? There's so many classes now. I don't recognize everyone. There's like 27. I was in the first. But I know there's other boot camp grads here. I see some people. We boot camps. So for those of us who found our way to tech that way, we stick together. But always are good ways into computer science and programming and everything. So thank you all for coming. If you're new to tech, that's why we're here. We want to help you learn like what is coding. Are you wanting to do a career in coding? We can help you. We have resources, give you advice, tell you our own tearful stories. So to start off, we only have, I think, 3 people signed up today. And since it's going to go faster, I thought we could do what we used to do back in the day when only like 10 people came and introduce ourselves and say a little bit of what we do. So I'm Holly. I just met you. And I code in Python and Ruby. And I'm learning Haskell, which is functional programming and static types, and really, really weird, but it's cool. And right now I'm looking for a job, so if anyone's hiring, let me know. I'm looking, but that's me. And you are?
I'm Natalia. Actually, I had to look it up recently. My first Women Who Code meetup was April 2014, so it's a long time ago now. I'm a front-end developer, and I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics ever, me. I'm just kidding. About getting into tech and all the myths involved that I've found.
Natalia gives very interesting talks, and I just learned she's moving to Manhattan, and I'm very sad because you are like our pinch hit talker every month, and she'll talk about ceiling and coding and colors and coding because she has an art background. So I'm very sad that you're moving.
I've still got a few months though.
So maybe you can like Google Hangout some talks for us from Manhattan. Maybe. But we're looking forward to your talk tonight. So we'll jump behind you and then go that way.
Hi, I'm Nicole Engler. This is my first Women Who Code meetup. I am relatively new to the Austin area. I, at the moment, am actually more in administration in tech than coding. I used to code in PHP. I'm looking to learn Python, I think, is the language I want to sort of decide. And I'm also looking for a different position because I want to get back into coding and hands-free again. So that's that. And I am the lead of Chick Tech Austin, which a couple of people are going to talk about tonight. So
We're glad to have you.
I'm Dana DeFebo. This is my 3rd Women Who Code meetup. I'm a librarian. I work at UT, and I do mostly just HTML and CSS. And I'm also part of Chick Tech.
Cool.
So.
I got to speak at one of the classes with the School of Information at UT, and it was really cool to know that the School of Information has programming classes, and people like yourself use code on the job.
It's one of the hidden things that nobody knows librarians do. So yeah.
Cool.
Many of us, I'm a librarian too, many of us actually like fall into it accidentally.
It's like a superpower.
Oh, you understand the computer. Can you fix this? And there it goes.
I'm Ashley. I'm Chick Tech rep number 3. Chick Tech speaker number 2. I'm well new to coding. This is probably my 5th Women Who Code meetup. I've been to the interview session, which was crazy awesome, and if you guys do that again, I'm going to go again.
We hope to do at least twice a year. We did a junior interview tech workshop, which was really helpful, and now I'm like, I need to go back through it.
Yeah, no, it was really fantastic. I've really enjoyed, I'm also new to Austin, so I've really enjoyed trying to cultivate a community here, and Women Who Code is fantastic for that, and I'm learning the Ruby on Rails stuff.
Cool.
last chicken person here tonight, but hopefully the last because women got to join. Anyway, this is I don't know, probably my 4th or 5th Women Who Code. I'm currently in school right now, going through the ACC's Accelerated Programmer Training, which, you know, it is what it is. So I'm thinking about going to a boot camp afterwards. So if anybody has any suggestions for boot camp, I know you did Micro Square.
There's 6 here in Austin.
Good.
All about
Perfect.
it.
I'd love to hear about it because it may be my next step. Anyway,
Cool.
so learning to code, I'm getting into front-end web development, trying to be that elusive unicorn of doing design and dev together. So yeah, so I love this. I love getting girls together, girl power.
So do we. We'll start there and go back.
Start with me? Okay. Hi, I'm Vicki. This is my first meetup too. I am a developer at creditcards.com, and I guess I code mostly in PHP and Java. I never did a boot camp, but I've done a lot of courses on Coursera and edX, so I do know
Cool.
My name is Melissa. I am currently enrolled in a boot camp. It's called Badge Academy. It's a spin-off from Maker Square in the first cohort for front-end web development. I work at UT for the RGK Center for Philanthropy and Community Service and maintaining our web stuff. I currently use HTML and CSS, but I hope to expand and use more.
Cool. That's great.
I'm Claire. This is my first meetup, and I work with Melissa at the RGK Center as a lecturer and a researcher. My research is currently on impact investing and using a graph database, and I've realized how easy it would be if I knew Python, so I'm hoping from a data science perspective to learn Python.
Great.
But I have no skills.
Anyone else interested in Python? 3rd Wednesday of the month, we have a Python class at Rackspace. We, on our website, list like what lessons we're going through, but we also are open for anyone to just jump in at any time. Nobody learns at the same pace. Like, I never even finished the book the first time we went through it, so just come. We group everyone by where they are in the book, and so you'll have plenty of other people to talk to, and it's a great resource. They give us pizza, so. But that's 3rd Wednesday.
I'm Dawn Green. I know Holly. Holly and I drink.
You've
together.
come since we we also went camping together.
Oh, yeah. So Holly and I have fun. And Nick, her husband.
Yes, and Stacy, your partner.
Yes. I have been in business for 15 years. I'm very passionate about women in programming and women in business. I've spoken here and other places about women in tech, and I can always be called on in a pinch to come up with some topic because I am so passionate about it. And I have 3 daughters. One is a programmer, you earned it. Another one, they all swore they would never do it. I talked about it all their lives. And then the middle one is finishing up in college with a minor in computer science. And the youngest one is going for a CS degree, so. It's
Go Mom.
Hello, my name is Ophelia. I currently work in tech, obviously. I am a support developer, so I do a lot of, I'm like the liaison between the customer and the development team, and I also do development on the side with like QA and a bunch of other fun things. And I moved to Austin in June. And I actually came to the very next day that I got here, I came to Women in Code and got right to it. So
Now you're an organizer. She's actually my co-host tonight.
Yeah. And
I put her to work.
Yeah, and I am also an organizer for Women in Code. Cool.
I just realized today is my 3rd anniversary in Austin. Today, 3 years. We drove across country in a snowstorm. True, the only time West Texas had snow in like 10 years. Your turn.
Hey, I'm Kelly. I am brand new to tech. I actually went to school and got my nursing degree and hated it. So,
I'm sorry. But welcome to tech.
so I'm currently a student at General Assembly, and
Cool.
I'm Tori
to Austin in July or June, I can't remember. And I'm starting a software engineering certificate program in a few weeks actually. And that's it.
That's great.
Hi, my name's Cheryl, and I'm probably the only person in here who is not in tech. I'm an accountant for the government, and I want to learn more. I'd like to start my own web-based business, and so I need to learn more of the terminology and just be in this environment, and that's why I'm here.
That's great. We all started where you are.
I'm also new to tech. I'm actually a chemical engineer in oil and gas, but I've come up with some projects through my work where I needed to model some reactions with Excel, VBA, and LabVIEW. So I'm just trying to brush up on some languages and learn a little more, get more tech savvy, especially if I'm trying to move here to Austin to look for a job. Realize a lot of the jobs around here, you need to be a little more tech savvy. So
Cool.
that's where
You're
I'm at.
welcome.
My name is Larissa. I've been in the tech industry for about 6 years, but I recently came out of General Assembly. And yeah, currently also unemployed. Hire me. So just working on projects, figuring out what's next. So this is my second time here, and it's so much fun, so I'm probably going to come back a lot.
Good.
I graduated with Larissa. My name is Kim Dilling. I had experience with marketing analytics and just project management, program management, and so I wanted to make the transition into full development. So I also did the boot camp, and we just got out for the holidays, so we had a chance to enjoy the holidays and get really broke, and then now we're looking for jobs.
Well, glad you're here. We'll start with you.
I'm Regina. I am a student at Oregon State Ski Campus doing the post-baccalaureate program. So I have a degree in medical technology, and now I can get a CS degree without taking English again. And I'm looking for an internship.
Cool. And you're also speaking tonight.
I am, and I have a freelance WordPress and iOS development studio.
Nice. That's great.
Hi, I'm Cece. I'm currently a hardware engineer. So I've been writing scripts for hardware. So I wrote Tickle, VBA, C#, a little bit C. So I'm very good at writing for loops in any of those, but about that I don't know anything. So I'm trying to learn more, especially I'm kind of getting to more of the testing framework at work now. So hopefully can everybody learn lots.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Leslie. This is my 4th meetup. I also went to the tech interview workshop. It was awesome. I currently work in digital marketing, but I recently completed a front-end course at GA. And I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do next.
Good luck. All of us need good luck. Your turn.
Hi, I'm Denise. I'm an electrical engineer, and I've spent most of my career in test and processor debug. And with the last round of layoffs, I'm tired of this, and so I'm in the APT program. My 3rd semester starts in January.
Nice.
And so I'm going to have Java and C++. And
I'm taking the same ones.
Oh,
That's
yeah?
funny.
Okay, good. You may be in the
Study
same class.
buddies!
Yeah, so I know Java, C++, Perl from on the job, instruction set generators, and mostly I came out because I wanted to kind of get a feel for the industry here in Austin, and like the interview and what to prepare for, and the buzzwords to put in the resume and all of that. And
Sure.
so because I need to totally revamp it.
And we also know recruiters and people here in Austin who would love to help give you like resume advice. We did a resume workshop last year, and would like to offer it again. It's just people power, because we all have jobs and other stuff. But if you go to our GitHub, www.code.atx, we have on there a list of resources of recruiters, and a lot of them will help you out with your resume. Tutorials, like if you're trying to learn C or Python or something, like what are some of the online tutorials or books that we recommend. And then other awesome meetups here, because we aren't the only meetup, like there's Chick Tech, we need to add you now. Make a pull request. And then, just different things that can help you, but definitely you can ask me questions as well. We'll have a break. But for any of the rest of you, if you need help, go on there. Carla Kroll at Rackspace is really awesome, and we have her listed there. She did our resume workshop last year, so you can feel free to email her. And Rackspace is huge; it has all kinds of jobs, so it's not bad to know someone there and be like, hey, so what would I need to know to get hired there, like in this position, or this one, or this one, or that one. And she's really good, and will try and keep your resume at the top, if she knows you. And then also you could come to the Python class and meet her because she's our host. So that's all the people here. So now you know all these amazing women in tech. So hopefully at the break you can go talk to each other and ask more questions. If you're a beginner, definitely you can come and talk to us who have been doing this a little longer. And if you have any other questions, Ophelia and I will be free. Dawn is also a great resource. She taught herself in the beginning and then went back to school, for computer science. So she's definitely walked down the road and can tell you some of the hurdles and things to jump over. Our first talk is Chick Tech. They're going to tell us all about their amazing meetup. So if you ladies will come up, and do you need help getting onto the projector? Is it working? Stay tuned. And if you could write your Twitter handles, we like to take pictures and tweet you amazing women. Thank you. And tag you. And then if anyone has questions later, they know how to get hold of you.
Ours or Chick Tech's as well?
Yeah, Chick Tech, yours, all the above.
That's an R, by the way.
If anyone needs to use the restroom at any point, you walk out the door and then down the left of the hall and then a right, and it's right there. And then the Wi-Fi is Capital Factory Guest, password the factory, and water is out in your hallway as well. Thank you.
I'm gonna get on here.
Pull you up. Awesome. Magic. Let's see, what was the last time I used PowerPoint?
All right.
Go ahead, you can start.
Okay. Hey everybody, Karen Kelly again. If you're here for the first time. So we're here. We want to talk to you a little bit about Chick Tech. We are a brand new chapter of Chick Tech. Chick Tech was started in Portland, and I think it's about 2011. And so they've been expanding across the country. They have ones in New York City. They're getting one in Houston now, but we are just starting here in Austin. And so what we're going to be doing is, let me go to the next slide. So this is just a little blurb about what our mission is. But in a nutshell, what we want to do is we want to support both women and girls in tech, people that are looking to get in tech, that are already in tech, and especially high school girls that are interested in tech or may not know they're interested in tech, so we can encourage them to become interested in tech. And when we're talking about tech, we do mean more than just coding. So, there's a lot of good resources, Women Who Code for coding resources, but when we're talking about tech, we do mean all kinds of different types of technology. So it can be, we have like a bioengineering, and it could be mechanical engineering, of course it can be coding, anything that has to do with technology, the STEM fields. We want to encourage girls in high school to get involved. And one of the things that we do, in fact, is, is we have a program specifically for high school girls. And what this allows us to do is we pick and choose, certain girls based on teacher recommendations from schools, and it's going to be all over Austin. And how many do we have total, Nicole?
Well, we can accept 100, but usually what they do is we usually end up sending out about 125 invitations because not every girl will accept.
Okay, there you go. So about 100 girls. We send out a little bit more than that. And so what these girls, again, they are submitted by their teachers and guidance counselors and whomever. Again, they don't have to necessarily, be the smartest in the class. They don't have to be the ones that are, if they know everything about, coding or electronics or anything like that. What we want is the potential. and we want to invite them to understand and learn about what technology can bring them, what can do in their lives. And so with the high school program, and this is, even though we're starting now, the high school program doesn't start until the fall when the school season starts. And so what we'll be doing is we'll be having workshops for the girls that are in this particular program, and they're going to be doing certain things like, build your own computer with Raspberry Pi, or code a website, create a game, things that'll usually take 1 or 2 days, usually over a weekend, but it gets them very hands-on and involved. It allows them to experience all kinds of different tech that they might become involved with. And then, of course, we'll also be having, mentors and internships, and these internships are pretty, short-term stuff, maybe a week or two where they follow someone around doing, watching what they're doing at their job. And so Ashley is going to talk about our second program, the Chick Tech Career.
Chick Tech Career is very similar to what we do here at Women Who Code, which is we're trying to foster and encourage women who are already interested, or who maybe think they might be interested in tech, but don't quite know yet. So similar to the high school program, we will be hosting workshops and mixer events we're not going to have mixer events with high schoolers, but mixer events every couple of months or so.
Just keggers, high school stuff.
If we're there, I would like to note that that is not allowed.
Anyway, for adult participants, Chick Tech Career is part of what we use to fund our programs for the high school students, so that the high school students don't actually have to pay to be involved. So we host workshops, again, for any kind of tech. So we're looking for, biotech, hardware, software, it doesn't matter, in order to also foster our community within Austin. And again, those workshop fees support our high school programs. So what we need from the Women Who Code community and from the community at large are ideas, are professionals, are volunteers. We need people who have ideas for workshops. So perhaps you've been thinking about giving a talk on that, piece of information that you've been, or that topic that you've been studying so hard about. So come talk to a group of people like this, or come volunteer to talk to a group of high school girls who maybe have been told that they should try tech but don't know what that means, or women who have been told that they should try tech because that's where all the money is and they don't know what that means yet. We also need people on the ground, people, maybe you don't have enough time to commit, but you can come help set up chairs for our events, or you can come help with the logistics department. But especially right now, our leadership team is about 8 of us.
No.
It's small.
We have
Seven-ish.
a workshop manager, we have a fundraising manager, a mentor manager, and a participation engagement management, and then the 2 leads.
Right. And I am our current volunteer coordinator, but if there's anybody more experienced, that would be great. We also obviously need, anybody to help out with our social media and our marketing and our website and that kind of thing.
So basically anywhere you think you might have,
any way you think you
can help.
Viewers in the
Trust
community
us.
and your network you can leverage to help out this kind of a cause, because I don't know about you guys, but to me, community service has always been kind of a big deal as far as giving back to the community. That I've just got here and I already feel like I need to be helping give back feedback this loop, because it's such a positive community. I think that we always have time for more. And when everybody asks, how do we get more women into code, I say, well, we get more girls into code. How do we get more women into tech? Well, we encourage the girls in our communities to get into it. And that's something that I think an organization like this is really, really good for.
Yeah. And speaking of organizations like this, so we have, more specifically, so that was kind of the general definition, but, like I said, we need, workshop speakers. If you have ideas about something that you think would be cool, either for the career path, for women like ourselves, or for the high school path for your girls that you want to encourage, those are some things that we need. We need volunteers that can come and help out with our events. So, I know a lot of you don't have a whole lot of spare time, but if you could spare maybe a few hours on a Saturday, we need you. We'd love to have you there. We also need sponsors, for getting spaces like this, sponsors when we're doing our workshops, sponsors when we're doing our meetups, mentors, if you have some time to be a mentor, which again, I know it's one of those things that everybody, wants a mentor, but nobody actually can find a mentor sometimes. So, if you have the skills and you have the time, we'd love for you to do that as well. Venues kind of goes along with, sponsors, we need venues. So if you know somebody, if you work for somebody that might be able to help us out, awesome. And then also, donations of money and or equipment. So like when we're doing these workshops, we're going to need, certain things. So maybe, you could, if you have, your employer says, okay, well, we'll give you, 50 flash drives or whatever, things like that. But, we just want you to keep in mind that, we're a resource that could really help women and girls get into tech, stay into tech, be cool and happy with tech. Okay, so finally, thank you very much. I'm Karen Kelly, I'm the workshop coordinator.
I'm Ashley Lewis, I'm our current volunteer coordinator. If you want to find out any more about it, I keep saying current. I'm just always afraid that I'm not going to do well enough. Anyway, if you want to find out any more about us, we are starting our own meetup also, so find us on Chick Tech Austin on meetup.com. Our first event is coming up at the end of January. We're working to nail down a exact date, but it will be the third week of January.
Mm-hmm.
We are also looking to, I had an idea in my head and it just flew away. It's gone.
Okay.
It's gone.
Well, anyway, that's again, and we'll be here, the four of us, so if you have any questions, we'd love for you to volunteer. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a few, actually. But, so let me just, first of all, you're a nonprofit.
Yes.
Okay. And you guys just decided to do this because you believe in women in tech?
Yes.
Okay. So
Well, Nicole, like I said, her and Dana are the co-founders of Chick Tech.
All right.
And
Finance?
Our chapter.
Yeah, of our chapter.
So there's Chick Tech National, and I met them up at the OzCon last year.
Okay.
And I went to their booth and I was like, "Do you have an Austin chapter? I'd love to get involved." And they're like, "No, we don't." And I went, "Okay." And so there you go.
All right.
Finances.
Were you financed, or is it it financed by the group?
So we have to pay. We actually have to pay dues to the national organization. They did get a grant from the Adobe Foundation that gave each chapter $5,000, and then we have CDK Global here in Austin that is giving us 10, and so that 15 is our startup. My understanding is that we need about 30 a year for the high school program and the regular meet.
Okay.
So we're
All right.
halfway there.
I have two questions. One kind of question and comment. First of all, do you have a general curriculum for working with girls, or is it is it dictated by this group?
No, we can use any of the ideas the other chapters have used. The good thing about us being new is, the other ones have been around for a few years, so we can sort of pick and choose from them. The general guideline is, I'm gonna mix these up, I know I am, 3 software programs, and 4 hardware or vice versa. To do 7 programs that the girls can choose from, and then they take that one track for our kickoff event, which is the weekend that they were talking about, and they would sit down with an instructor and a bunch of volunteers. We need about 100 volunteers for that event as well. But anyway, they go and they sit and they go through the weekend and they finish this project. At the end, they can take something home, a program or a hardware or something they have completed. Then each month, for the rest of the school year, we'll offer workshops on any topic. And if they want to attend, they can keep attending. But if they feel like it's not for them, that's.
And is the curriculum pre-planned in advance?
We will pre-plan it, but it is not pre-assigned to us by the national.
Okay.
So we can decide.
It takes about a year to get the workshop, this high school program planned. That's why we couldn't do it this fall. Even if we wanted to and we're totally ready, the national chapter won't allow us. We have to plan for 1 year.
Okay.
Everything has to be set up ahead of time. It's not just like we show up and start doing stuff.
And here is a comment that in all the years that I've been in business, I have mentored kids. But I think a mentorship is something that happens between two people. You don't generally, this is just for your own thing so that you can think about this as you're planning. Is a mentorship, you don't just assign a person another person, because the fact is it's gotta go both ways. And if a person if the student or the mentee isn't putting in the time, then it's not rewarding to the mentor. So I think that through your events, maybe you can look for those natural relationships that somebody is, you know,
It's a
that
great
they
idea.
clicked, and then help foster those, rather than, you know, asking for a mentorship. And I think those will happen naturally, so. All right, well, good luck.
Good comment, thank you.
I know, that's a good one.
Are there any other questions? Okay, like I said, we will be here. We have stickers for those of you who like stickers.
They all have stickers.
Oh, they have stickers, yeah.
And cards? Great.
And cards.
I
Yeah.
have the sign up sheet if you don't want, if you want us to contact you so that you don't have to go to a
Yeah.
number to do that, we'll sign you up for our mailing list and you can be notified of events.
So the kickoff event, you're not doing a workshop with girls. This is just
No.
a kickoff.
Yeah, the high school
Involved.
stuff isn't gonna happen until
Right.
Fall.
This is deceptive. Our first event is basically our introduction to the community, and it's for adults.
right, yeah, with adult
Pulling in
beverages.
We'll do a quick
It's a kegger.
intro just like this, and then we'll let everybody just mix and toss.
And it'll be at home away, so there'll be a tour of that
What
facility.
kind of events are you planning throughout the year? What would you like to do?
Regular mixers, definitely, networking events and things like that, and then in between, the career oriented, so,
Yeah, some of the ideas that
Yeah.
we've had are, people introduction to how to use, GitHub, something like that. So just a workshop on how to use GitHub. Also, workshops on, getting some of the, the tech industry leaders from around Austin. So, some of the biggies like Google and Apple and whatnot, and have them kind of do a roundtable to say, hey, what does it take to get hired with you? What should I be focusing on? And then another idea that we had was, how to put together your portfolio. So if you want to show your work, obviously, to employers, you need to have your resume, but having your portfolio is also a really good idea. So again, a lot of these things kind of, not overlap, but, work together with the things that you're doing for Women Who Code. So that's another thing that we want to do, is that we want to join forces with a lot of the other women's groups that are out in Austin right now. So Women Who Code, Girl Development, Develop It, Women Learning to Code. There's a bunch of them, and we're not going to be fighting. We're not going to say, oh, you have to come to our meetup. No, you have to come to our meetup. No, we want you to come to everybody's meetup, and we're going to join forces and make sure that everybody is supported and happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are you associated with, or are you aware of Jen Austen?
No.
It's a nonprofit here in Austin, that's focused on girls, and they have programs around, I think generally around kind of self-esteem and, issues and like social challenges that are faced by girls across
cool.
the board. So it's not focused on any one kind of career track or sector, but it could be that they're a good.
Well,
It
that
could
sounds
be
like a great resource.
a
just
good partner,
because
yeah.
that's the obstacle, no matter what you're doing.
Right.
I've already reached out to them.
Okay.
So they're already
Cool.
on, yes, they're already on the list.
Did you have a question?
So yeah, I was gonna say they have the Girl Connect program, so they do
Okay.
a kids program, but they only do it in certain high schools. So
Okay.
I was gonna ask, like, how exactly do you find, the girls to send out invitations to?
We want to reach to high schools. We're not going to talk directly to girls. We want to reach out to high school science teachers, computer science teachers, guidance counselors if they are in touch with their students, obviously. But people that already know those students, know their potential, because the tricky audience that we really want to target, that is by definition hidden, are girls who might have the potential to work in tech, might have the potential to be successful, but don't necessarily think about it as a viable resource, or even really think about what that means. They say, oh, that's boy stuff.
Right.
There's one more piece to this, and that is that we would like the majority of the girls that get nominated to be girls who are on some sort of financial aid, lunch payment programs. They are, underrepresented and underprivileged, I guess is the word. And so we need connections to high schools, and we're not going to be picky in that regard. And when we said Austin, we'll do the whole Austin metro. Whoever else wants, if you know schools or if you have kids in schools that you think we should reach out to, let us know.
There won't be like any particular quota per school.
No.
We'll just go based on referrals and.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry we went over the 5 minutes, but
There'll be time for more questions afterwards, so.
yeah,
We're
come
here.
talk to us. Thank you so much.
Next is Regina, and she'll be talking about GitHub.
Okay. Hi, I'm Regina, and I can GitHub, and you can too. You totally can. It's not that hard. I know it seems like black magic. It is not. It is not. So I'm Stabby McDuck pretty much everywhere on the internet. And you can find my slides on Twitter. It's the pinned tweet at the top. So why do I care about this? So I am in an online computer science program for a bachelor's degree. And so everything's online, so GitHub kind of helps my life a lot. Computer science programs are really good at teaching really cool algorithms and design principles and stuff like that, but they aren't super good at teaching collaboration. I think that's something that boot camps and stuff really do better.
We need all of it.
What's that?
But we need all of it.
You need all of it. Well, everybody
Especially
does.
if you're doing tech interviews. The computer science algorithms are helpful.
Yeah.
Everyone needs advice.
Yeah, but a thing that a lot of people have with people coming out of computer science bachelor's programs is that they don't know how to work collaboratively. So I've had a few collaborative classes about halfway through my degree, and I've never actually had anybody say that they were comfortable using GitHub to do projects with. And they prefer to email code back and forth, which, no, there is a better way. So this is not an intro to GitHub, sorry. There's a really good program for that. You can go to that link, and it's an active link on the slides. And so this is just to like motivate you, give you the power, the mantra, you can do this. So the stages of Git know-how, it's like the stages of grief. So you've never heard of GitHub. You've heard of GitHub, but it sounds super complicated, so you just don't use it. You use GitHub for your own personal use, but you don't touch anybody else's code. I think a lot of us stay there for a nice long time. You try using GitHub for collaborative use, and you're like, what the hell is forking? What the hell is cloning? I don't understand any of this pulling. And then you get a issue, and you're like, I don't know what the heck this means. So this is like the height of the code anxiety. And then all of a sudden, you're working on projects, you're doing open source, everything's cool. So what happens between 4.2 and 5? What happens? You know enough to be scared. And so I just did a personal survey, not scientific at all, of people in my degree program. So people said they didn't actually know how version control works, which we have classes that teach us that, but that doesn't always sink in super well. Thinking that they would delete the whole project is a common issue that people say. Thinking they're going to destroy the repo, or just thinking it's just too complicated. So these are actual quotes that I've gotten from my survey. Emailing code is easier. You know that the other person got it. Cloud9, which is a cloud-based IDE, which is super cool, really nice for remote pair programming, but it's easier because you can work on stuff all at the same time. But you can't do that with version control. So how do you get over this? And you just have to practice, and I'm really sorry to say that. You just have to practice and get over it. So GitHub actually has a practice repo that you can practice forking and pulling and all that good stuff. Or if you need a more hand-holding approach, you can use a friend's. I am offering up my repo. I trust that you're not going to delete it. I know you're not, because it's going to be fine, because that's how version control works. It's going to be fine. So if you want, I will help you through the process, because you can do this. We all can do this. It's not rocket science. And that's it. Were there any questions? Or
Did you end up using it?
number 2.
Did you end up using it with any of your classmates, or did they all just refuse?
I took in all of their emails code and put it on GitHub.
Wow.
Oh my god. Manual version.
You're a nice class.
Is there any other questions or comments?
I was going to say a comment. I found when I was learning GitHub a one-page cheat sheet, which was really helpful when I couldn't remember commands. And don't feel bad about yourself, like if you're learning it. I was on some projects with seasoned programmers, and I knew some commands on Git that they didn't, and it made me feel so smart. What do you mean you don't know this?
Well, I enjoyed the presentation on GitHub. It is pretty scary sometimes, especially when it gives you a bunch of errors. So our next presentation is Natalia. And did you present this at SESCON?
No, I wrote an article on it.
Oh, that's right.
So I'm not reading the thing though, so I'm gonna add
She
most of this.
is awesome, and I'm sure you'll
Go
all
on,
enjoy.
there's more.
It's her favorite subject.
It is.
Your talk is, well, her article was based on like why she doesn't belong in tech.
It was a clickbait title, I know. I don't belong in tech.
Wait a minute, is that the one that was on our Slack?
It got retweeted a lot.
Okay.
I
retweeted
it.
It was great.
Yeah.
This is our celebrity.
Well, this is the behind the scenes of the article.
Wow. All right. So interpretive dance.
Yeah. Actually, just need a little more wine for that. So hi, I'm Natalia, and like I mentioned earlier, I've actually been coming to Women in Code pretty consistently since April of 2014. I was really excited to find that number because it feels like it's been forever, but it also feels like it hasn't been much time at all. And so today, my actual talk title is I Didn't Belong in Tech and 4 Other Myths in Joining the Developer Community, or something quite similar to that. So the reason I keep saying like 2014, why is that like so burned into my brain? Well, because that was pretty recent, and my first time coming to Women Who Code, I had the biggest case of imposter syndrome, the largest like, they're gonna know I'm not supposed to be here, and they are going to escort me out. I was nervous going up these elevators, like it's too many floors, I gotta start somewhere lower, I can't do this. Because my background is being an artist, it's a background in, I worked in a nonprofit, or as I like to say, forged in the fires of a nonprofit. I was a creative development director at a school, lots of high school teaching, sorry, I'll never go back. Did my part for society. And it involved a lot of things, from starting summer camps and teaching, and I did a lot of stuff. Like, I can stand here all night and talk about the achievements that I accrued and all the things that I did, and I was also going to grad school at night for creative development. I was just like the model, look at she's doing the dream job, and it just wasn't my dream job. I could never excitedly come up to someone and be like, I'm a teacher! But I was like, it's just because, I mean, like, right now, I'm a teacher right now, but, you know, really, I'm gonna do something else later. And I never thought that I could actually get into tech. And the reason that I actually ended up writing this article is because I read Leah Veru's really awesome My Positive Experience in Tech article, and I knew I needed to write a response, and one sentence turned into an article. As you'll notice, this short lightning talk probably turns into a monologue. I find myself constantly wishing I could go back in time to poor little me in 2014 and just say all of these wonderful things that have happened since that I just had no idea were coming. I was fully ready for like the onslaught of joining the boys club, the death of creativity, and finally sitting down at a computer, because somehow inside I knew like I really want to work with computers. computers. I don't really know what it's gonna be like. I don't know what this experience is gonna be, and it's gonna be hard. I'd internalized the whole I'm not gonna make it in tech, like through and through, just because of the double whammy of being told, whoa, you're gonna break it, which I did. I broke a lot of computers growing up. And also, you're so nurturing. Actually, I was thinking about you earlier when I was gonna talk about that. Did you get told you were so nurturing, go into a nursing path? And you're like, yeah, I guess. I don't really want to do this, but it's okay. It's that same thing. You get this like, no, look at these other qualities you should develop. And kind of like, I ended up teaching art, and I loved it, and it was great. Man, telling kids to follow their dreams all day, and then being like, someday I'll follow mine. Got old. So I'm really happy that I found Women Who Code, and so this gets me to 2 actionable items that I'd like to share with you all today. If you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. There's 2 good reasons for that. One, well, actually, before I say that, this is not about your ego or like you're going to become Twitter famous. This is about, 1, getting your voice out there and starting now, and 2, getting access to some of the best minds in development that aren't just here in Austin in this room, but all over the internet. Because let me tell you, I hear about all the cool trends in tech right away every morning when I check Twitter and somebody's like, I just did this, oh, I wrote this article, look at this new thing I'm doing, and I always seem like I'm really with it. My secret is Twitter. So if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter and then follow Women Who Code. They'll get you set up from there. But Twitter was the way that I saw Leah Veru's article about her positive experience in tech, and now I'm tying it all back to what I'm actually here to talk to you about. Myths in becoming a developer. There were 4 things that constantly ran through my mind that I've identified as the big roadblocks to all those times like, yeah, I think I'm going to start, oh, never mind. Like those kind where as soon as you start having this thought, you're like, I guess that's not for me. 1, we all know this, it's hard, it's too late, you should have started earlier, and you'll never catch up. Who's ever felt this way, right? I have a couple of things to say about that because I've thought about this subject for a really long time. Yes, it's hard, but anything worth doing is hard. But what is harder? Having an exciting challenge or having a really boring challenge? If you're not interested in something, forcing yourself to do it for a career is one of the hardest things you can do. I hated grading with a passion. You wouldn't believe how much I hated it, to where every year I gave up fewer and fewer things to be graded because I was just like, I can't. It's hard, and it feels like everybody started coding at 5. So there's no, there's like a 5-year-old who can code better than me right now. I'm positive. But you have to shift your mental model of what being in tech is. It's not a marathon where everybody's just in the distance and you're like, I'm just still learning how to walk. It's more of a weird merry-go-round. And this is something that I'm like, I don't know, I made this up and it still kind of works. So every time I tell people this mental model, it kind of sticks. It's a weird merry-go-round and it's spinning really fast. And it's like, it's impossible to just jump on, but then one day you just gotta do it, and once you're on. You're a developer, and it's always trying to throw you off, but you're just kind of just pulling towards, leaning in to the center, and you're fine. And like, if you stand still for too long, yeah, it'll throw you off, but then you know how to get back on again. So there's no like weird race, left behind, or catch up. Like if you catch yourself thinking, how will I ever catch up? Just like, think of it as some weird, crazy, spinny thing, and be like, this is weird, and I'm just gonna do it and see where it happens. And I'll be dizzy and tired, and it'll be a lot of fun, because ultimately it is a whole lot of fun. So yeah, just forget that whole I'll never catch up. You will. If I did, you will. 2, I used to teach art, fine art, painting, drawing, illustration, all those cool things, digital design. I love creativity. That's actually what my graduate degree was in, creative development. I went full down that career path. And I was afraid that it would be very technical and not creative, because I don't know if anyone knows this, art really has dibs on creativity. If it doesn't involve a paintbrush, like, it's really hard for some people to think about it being creative. And one of the things that I constantly heard when I told everyone, like, I'm gonna be a front-end developer now, I'm done teaching art, was like, you are so gonna miss being creative. How are you gonna even how will you live? And for me, I really do mean it when I say I feel like I'm living my personal renaissance every day, because developers are always working with ideas. Some are made visual for us front-end people, and some are living in the abstract, which is just unbelievably cool. You craft ideas and you shape them into things people can interact with, and sometimes you use this glowing screen, and it's a canvas capable of any shape or size that glows beautiful colors of any kind, and it's already in front of everyone in the world. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna really miss this paintbrush. You know, this is gonna be hard. So it's really creative. You're always working with ideas, and it's never just typing out some code. You're always solving a problem. You're always finding a new problem to solve, and you're always trying to build these mental models of what you're working with. You're gonna find yourself in the zone or in the flow. Actually, Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, a famous social psychologist, coined this term. It's when you're in this moment where time is passing so quickly because you're so in this, like you're just moving and everything, your skills perfectly align with the problem you have to solve, and you just feel creatively alive. That happens in coding all the time. So if you're wondering, like, I guess it's just a bunch of software drudgery ahead, that's just not been my experience. It's basically feels like painting for me, which is pretty great. The third fear I had was, as you can tell, I'm a people person. I like engaging warmly with people. I took one of those Myers-Briggs, and I am an ENFP, which means I am just, yeah, God, you know? I was told, like, I'm an extrovert, and actually, one of my jobs, they made everyone take it, and I was the only lady ENFP in a room of male INTJs. There is not enough diversity in tech in every sense of the word. And so I thought, like, oh man, I'm just gonna be stuck in this, like, lonely, isolated world where it's just me and the glowing screen. And actually, after teaching, that sounded amazing. And it's true, it actually ended up being one of the most collaborative environments I've ever had to work in. I was way more isolated as a teacher because, one, I had to hang out with high schoolers all day, and in summer camps it was middle schoolers, which may have been what drove me over the edge. But in tech, you are collaborating all the time, whether it's on GitHub, which, my God, keep fighting the good fight. GitHub's real important, or any kind of version control, as long as it, you know, Bitbucket's great too. As long as you can use Git, it's really important because that allows you to all of a sudden work with a whole lot of different people so that you don't have to have this crazy skill set of all these different things. You're like, I'm really good at this much, and that fits right there in your project. You're welcome. And it, you know, it's great. And it's, you know, if you can write a good email, you would not believe how valuable that is in tech. And so I have to be more of a people person now working in software than I ever had to do when I was sitting on the school board, when I was a teacher, when I was a Christmas elf, you know, back in middle school volunteering, I had to be less of a people person than I have to be now. So if you think it's lonely, it just isn't lonely enough, because you'll find more people wanting your time and wanting your attention, and then you'll have to, like, have some sort of headphone rule, like, please don't interrupt me, I'm seriously working, because it goes back to the whole number 2, it's creative work, and you don't want anyone to interrupt you when you're in the zone. And so my last myth here that I found, so when I first went to my first one in code, I had to process my feelings about this whole thing because I was so nervous. It felt like going to, just sitting in my apartment, and this was the whole article, it's like, I was just paint this picture for you. I felt like I was sitting in my apartment, and next door you could hear this awesome fun party, and everyone's laughing, and it's fun, and it's great, and just right next door you can hear everything, and they're like, woo, it's great, it's great. And all you're sitting there thinking, like, I really want to go to that, like, and we're, you know, like, how do you walk, like, it seems like the hardest thing and the simplest thing in the world to just, like, walk over to your neighbor's house and be like, hello, I'm coming to a party, I don't know anyone. But that's exactly what tech feels like. It's like going to a party you're not invited to alone. And then just walking in and be like, I belong here. This is fine. Where are the chips? Like, this is great. But that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly the kind of weird, funky courage you have to have, and no ego about it, because you're going to walk in and just be like, cool music. Oh, never mind. Okay. And then you find your little group and your little crowd, and it might be Women Who Code, which it totally was for me. And then you realize you're all of a sudden friends with everyone, and there's always some dumb people trying to ruin the party, and there's always some weirdness happening, but you know, you're there and you can always make your way in there. It's totally not high school anymore. You could just get in there. So, it's not in my experience too, I found that it's really important for me to have a voice and say how positive my experience has been, because there is a lot online about how it's a boys club and how you will be kept out of it because someone's going to shut you down. It's like, yeah, that happens, but there are a lot of assholes everywhere trying to keep people out all the time. Tech is not unique. I was on the complete opposite of the gender ratio when I was teaching. Oh my God, those poor men. And this is something that I was very fortunate to have in my background with social psychology, which is anytime you have a homogenous population that is narrow and has a certain set of beliefs, human nature is that if it's a homogenous population, they will radicalize their beliefs. They won't become more neutral, they'll be all of a sudden just become more and more and more extreme in their own ways. So anything that has happened to me in tech that's just been like, because I'm not gonna lie, I've had some really hilarious stories about just like foot and mouth, stupid things coworkers have said to me, but it's always been just because like, I'm the first woman you've worked with? Jeez, you know, like they were really like, just a little bit of teacher patience and like some strong correction. And it was just, for me, it was fine. There was never anybody with like an agenda against women or anything that I've encountered. So I think it's really worth saying that like, good experiences can happen, and if this is something you really want to do, the good experiences are there, and you can have a perfectly lovely time if you decide to join the party. Now, again, I want to leave you with some takeaways from here other than it's just all wonderful party rainbows and unicorns. One of the most important things that I've learned by coming to Women Who Code, by joining a community, is that if Holly hadn't started Women Who Code, for example, and hadn't put her voice out there, I wouldn't have been probably standing up in front of any meetup right now. I wouldn't have had a chance to speak at conferences. I wouldn't have had a chance to write my articles. I wouldn't have found my voice nearly this early in my career. So one of the things I'd ask everyone in here is just be like, if you're already not doing it, one, get a Twitter. Start tweeting stuff. Just like 140 characters of something at all. If you don't write anything yet, start a blog on Medium. If you're looking for jobs, one of the things that I received on my first interview was that they looked at my resume and were like, yeah, we know you're a beginner, but we really liked what you had to say on your blog. Because I'd been just writing for a while about the things I was studying and the things I was learning. By no means was it a tutorial of any kind. It was just like, I learned this and this is what I thought of it. And then start coming to do lightning talks like this, because it's a lot easier for me to stand up here and talk to you all about things I'm excited about, and you're not even allowed to speak back until question time. But this is something you're gonna need to do anytime you're to stand up in a company and they're saying, let's email. Everybody in agreement? We're gonna email our code? And you have to stand up in front of everyone. We're not doing that. That's a terrible idea, everyone who's just agreed to do that. And finding that voice will save software, the future of software. So it's really important to cultivate, because it can be scary and you'll find that quiet moment where like, should have said something. So cultivating that voice straight away is really important. But every time I seem to tell people to do this, because again, ENFP, I can't help but give people advice and excitedly talk about these things, I keep hearing in return, well, I don't really have anything to say yet. Or, well, everything has already been said, or somebody's already like got this covered. How can I contribute anything new? And that is another place where I'd also invite you to do a cognitive shift. As a teacher, I have never worried about, well, what if I can't paint something new or say something new to my students? It's like, no, the curriculum exists. There's this knowledge out there, and I seem to have more access to it and more of it in my head than they do. So all I have to do is just take it through my experiences and present it to them so that as many of people here in my classroom can understand it as possible. It's not about tweeting something and then everybody being like, you're so brilliant, amazing. You have to take the ego out of it and just find your voice, where it's about helping the person after you, coming after you and joining tech after you, just like somebody helped you before. So I'm up here talking not because I'm like so pumped to talk about me, that was totally a joke at the beginning, but because I'm so grateful to the community and how it has both welcomed me in but also helped me amplify and boost my voice and give me opportunity for practice at lightning talks like this. I expect like at least 3 more applications at the next one from people sitting here to talk.
Yes.
Yes, Holly's looking for it. Because you're never gonna feel ready. It's like, remember, it's a weird merry-go-round. You're never gonna be like, wow, I finally got my footing on this thing. You're never gonna feel ready, and you're never going to feel like it's time to join the party and walk over. It's always gonna feel weird and scary, but that's how most of the fun things in life happen. It feels pretty weird and scary. And then you do it, and then you tell people how much fun it was and tell them to do it too. That's what I think. Take away from the whole thing. Thank you for listening to my long thing, and please tweet tonight and start a medium or build a site or whatever it is to get your voice out there.
Any questions?
Oh, talk to me afterwards if you feel like asking me questions about things, because I can keep talking all the time.
Alright, didn't I tell you she was awesome?
You set me up, I had to.
That's the trick. We have time for one more, and Holly is going to talk. It's a surprise, I don't know what it is.
I just inspired Holly? Wait.
You always inspire me. You're one of our success stories. You didn't go to a boot camp. You learned on your own. You transitioned from teaching, became a freelancer on your own. You're just like, I can do this. And I was like, man, I wish
It's
I
not
had
quite
your
like that. It's more
courage.
like, I can do this. This is going fine. A lot more fear in that, but it's good.
But you put one step, one foot in front of the other, and that's the most important thing, is just keep moving. Like,
walking forward is just falling over and over and catching yourself every time. That's
There
the
you go.
definition of walking forward.
yeah, like Natalia was saying, you know, if you stand still, you might fall off the merry-go-round, but just get back on. So my talk is going to be on data structures, but quick intro to that because it sounds really boring. The reason I'm studying data structures is because I went through a boot camp, and while they did teach us a lot, and there's only so much you can cram into 3 months, they can't teach you everything that you learn in a computer science degree. And in the middle of December, I suddenly found myself without a job. I had been at the company for only 3 months, but they're going through some restructuring, and I was the most junior person, so I was axed.
Oh.
And I was like, this sucks. A week before Christmas, I have no job. But the next day, a recruiter from Google reached out to me and said, would you like to interview? And I was like, yes! No, but yes! Because I've heard about their interview process. It's really scary. And I'm like, you do know, I'm from a boot camp. I'm not a 4-year degree from Harvard or MIT. And she's like, yeah, I saw you on LinkedIn. You look great. You know, the office in Austin is hiring. I'm like, what do you know, recruiter lady? So I was like, sure. And then she sent me all the stuff I'm supposed to study. So my interview's in 2 days. You all wish me luck.
What are you doing? You should be studying.
Yeah. Part of my studying habit is procrastination. That is true. I do procrastinate. And then I got sick over Christmas with a sinus infection, so that didn't help either. But Google is very thorough. They sent me a class to take online and all these terms to study, a whole packet of information. And a lot of it I've never seen before, so I'm just trying to get what I can into my brain. But I think some of the stuff is really good for anyone to know who's going into programming. It's foundational to what you should know. You know, they wanted me to know data structures and common algorithms, and then also some really fancy math stuff on top of that, which I'm like, you do know I'm a beginner, right? So hopefully the interviewer will have some patience. We'll see. But I thought the information on data structures was really good because I didn't have it broken down into like the most primitive level of data structures when I was in the boot camp. So I'm gonna use this whiteboard and show you what some of them are. So if you have a computer science degree and I say something wrong, feel free to tell me because I don't want to sound stupid in front of my interview. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, great, because I'm smart and amazing. There are primitive data structures. I'm not a teacher, but I can write. So primitive data structures are integers, which most people know. I'll just say int. And then a float, which is similar to an integer, but has decimal places. And then a character, I'll just say char, and a pointer. So these are your primitives. These are like the building blocks. Growing up, I really loved Legos. So as I was, studying this stuff, I was trying to think of the terms I was learning as like building blocks, like Lego blocks. Like, these are the most smallest Lego pieces that you use. And you build things on top. Like, you are surprised when you look at this and you say, well, where's string? Like, I don't see string. Well, string is actually character, but it's an array of characters. And I was like, that makes so much sense. So when you use a string, down in like the machine level, when you're saving it into memory, it's not actually a string. It's not, hi, my name. It's actually an array. And it's like H, I, maybe comma, and I said, oh, that's so interesting. Like, I haven't thought of that before. Like, that's how the computer sees a string. So, these are some interesting things that you learn. So, integer is just going to be, whole numbers like 1 and 2, and then float, like I said, has a decimal place. And then a pointer is something that references another place in memory. So a pointer could be like, go to, memory of, FF, B, CC, whatever, because memory is usually stored as like a hash or something. So that's what pointers are. And then pointers can be used in data structures that are built on top of these data structures. So after you learn primitive, then you go on to things that use primitives, the non-primitive data structures. So I'll leave that up and I'll just say non-primitive. So I've already mentioned a couple of them. Does anyone know what I've mentioned so far? Strings. String and arrays, yes. So we have strings, which is basically an array of characters. We have an array, which could be a bunch of whatevers. It could be characters, it could be integers, it could be pointers, it could be all of that. We have lists, which is similar to an array, sometimes different. Then you have things called linear lists, linear. And I did not learn these in my boot camp when I went through Ruby, but they're called stacks and queues. So I'm a very visual person. I can read books, but I'm a multi-learning person. Like, I'm kinetic, I'm auditory, I'm visual, so I like the whole experience. And my wonderful smart husband got us a Roku TV for our vacation over the summer, and he got himself an Xbox. But we got a Roku TV, and it had different channels you could add on there, and he found MIT had some of their computer science classes as channels. So he added CS50, and I really, actually this is Harvard's. MIT also has classes, but this was Harvard CS50. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been watching this class, and it's really cool because they have visual aids, and I know Natalia loves using visual aids, and they're very helpful. So when the professor is teaching about stacks, he brings in a whole stack of trays from the cafeteria, and he's like, here's a stack, and he drops it down. He's like, now if you were to add onto the stack, where would you logically put it? You're like, well, I'd put it on top. And he goes, that's how you use a stack in programming. You always have it first in. You never do insertions or, deletions. It's always just first in. And then it's first out. So that's called FIFO in programming acronyms. First in, first out. So
it's also with hiring and firing. First in, first out.
Yeah, so hiring and firing. Well, yes.
No.
Thank you for that reminder. Queues, you could kind of guess, like if you see what stacks are, queues you could guess like a line of people. How would they go? Would they go first in, first out?
Wait, first in, first out would be queues, last in, first out would be stacks.
You're right. So I had said it wrong. Queues is first in, first out. Thanks for that. I'll have to run this in my interview. So last in, first in. So the last thing you put in is the first one out is a stack. Queue's first one in is the first one out. Because if you were to queue up at the Apple Store for the iPhone and the last person to get in line gets the iPhone, there'd be some really pissed off people. So a queue is first in, first out. And then a stack is last in, first out. And I'm always a real world person, so I'm like, well, when would you ever use that? I mean, that sounds really stupid. But there are times where, you know, you don't care what order things go in, and it's going to be random, just like first thing in, first thing out, you know, or the last thing, first out. A lot of times it isn't like, you know, queuing, like if you're doing threading, you know, and you have requests coming into the server, you know, it's going to be first in, first out, you know, first thing in, next available thread, that thing goes to that thread. Stacks, I'm still trying to figure out on Google when you would use that, so if you get the answer, please let me know.
Search trees.
It would be kind of like when you do Control Z to like undo your last thing. That
Okay.
would be like from last, from like the last.
There we go.
Back on the brown
I'll see if I can remember this for my interview. So a stack would be like to remember like the user's actions, what they were doing. So if you were to do an undo, then you could do Control Z and it'd be okay, what was the last thing? Let's knock it off. There you go. And then some of the other data structures that exist are nonlinear lists. And they are graphs and trees. So a tree is when you have a parent node, and then it has like a child node, and then those have children as well. This is not a good drawing. I'm not an art person.
It's great.
This is actually a balanced tree. I drew you a balanced tree. It's a binary tree, which means everything has two. There's non-binary trees as well. Binary trees are great for searching because if you're going to do a quick search like indexing, when you index stuff in the database, like if, you know, I know that, well, there's different ways to do it, but if I say like, this is 55, this is 33, and this is 17, and this is 45, you know, and I'm doing a search, I know that on the right side is less than, and then on the left side is less than, on the right side is greater than. It's easy for me to do a search, like if I'm like, I want to find 100, and 100 is down here, I know to go to the left if I start at 55, and then keep going to the left until I find 100. So this is called a binary search tree, and it's balanced. And so that would be like an easy way for indexing thing if you know that you want to go really fast. Instead of if I had an array of numbers that were sorted, and you know, how many steps would it take for me to get over to 100? You know, it would take much more steps than going 1, 2, 3. So those are times where you'd want to use a tree, is when you're gonna like be searching through stuff and sorting things. You know, arrays are not fun for sorting. And the, sorry?
Is CSS an example of where you use sorting trees?
CSS, like when you're doing the cascading?
Yeah.
I don't know, that's a good question of how CSS is compiled down to its lowest part. I'm not sure, I don't know what the building blocks of CSS are.
They showed us in Batch Academy, they showed us that data structure when talking about CSS and explaining.
It could be.
Specificity.
Yeah. It could be that CSS uses this data structure, because these are the data structures that are used like under the hood of a lot of stuff, you know. So when you're using Python or Ruby and you're using more of the high level data structures, you may not be thinking like what's under the hood. But these are some of the things that are under the hood that are good to know. Graphs are similar to trees, but they don't necessarily go in tree form. They can just like spawn off of each other and go all over. And they're used to store other information. You know, they're just typically not, a tree actually belongs to graph, so it's in the graph family, but it's structured, while graphs don't have to be structured. There's also some other things that are in specific languages. C uses something called a linked list, which is nonlinear. Is it nonlinear? Sorry, I'm thinking. It is linear, but it can cycle on itself. So a linked list will have a value. The value could be anything. It could be a character. It could be an integer. That was very heavy. And then it'll have a pointer to where the next link in the list is. And then that will have a value, and then it will have a pointer to the next link in the list until you have a null value to tell it, stop, don't keep going. So linked lists are helpful when you need to store information and you're not sure how much information you're going to have, because it's really, really easy to do an insertion. You know, you just add another link to the list. Or if I want to put it in here, then it's like, okay, I'll just add this, and I'll say, oh, now I want you to point there, and I want you to point there. And it's really easy to change your data structure. It's just not as fast as some of the other structures, because if you want to find, you know, this value, you have to go all the way down. You know, it's called traversing. You have to traverse all the way down. So all of this, you know, information where I've been talking about, you know, moving and going back and forth and all of that's called big O. Some people have heard about big O and it sounds really scary, but it's not. It's just, you know, how many operations does your algorithm take? And so if I were to traverse a whole linked list, well, that would be n operations, because I don't know. It just depends on the number of the links in the list. But if I were to go into an array and I want something at the index of 2, well, that's just O1, because that's one operation, and that's called constant time. So I really recommend like studying big O if you can, and then some of these data structures, they're very helpful to know. I went on an interview last year, and even though I only knew Ruby and JavaScript at the time, they asked me some questions on linked lists, and I was like, but I don't know what they are. And they're like, well, just imagine it's this list and you have this pointer and just say dot next. And I was like, okay. And they said, now figure out if the list cycles on itself, if this pointer actually points back to the first one instead of the last one. I'm like, okay, so how would you figure that out? Well, I said, well, you could store the values into some kind of data structure like a hash or an array, and then just check it, like, is it already in there? Then you know we've passed it already. So I got the answer. I was really shocked. But so don't be scared when they say like, can you do something with some kind of structure you don't know? Just ask questions, because the guy was like, well, just pretend you have this thing and just say dot next on it to go to the next one. I said, okay, I can do that. But at first I was just like, you're speaking Chinese to me. So don't freeze up, you know, just do what study you can beforehand, and then just do your best and ask questions, and hopefully, you know, they know like you're a beginner and they're gonna work with you. You know, they're gonna be collaborative, because, you know, when you are programming, you're on a team and it is collaborative, and, you know, if you're on a good team, they'll answer your questions instead of ignoring you. You have a question?
I actually have to say, I am so surprised by how much of this I followed, because I binge watched the entire CS50 YouTube set, or the Harvard course, and I'm not at all involved in data structures, but I was like, I know what a pointer is. I'm following. So if anybody was sitting here going like, God, no, it's a really, really awesome course, and it's all free online. So
Yeah, and the visual aids are really nice.
yeah,
Like,
I'm completely surprised because I remember that stack thing. I was like, oh, if somebody put those trays in front of me, or like took some students and moved them around for me, then I could get it. But like, yeah, so that's really
yeah,
cool.
and one of the things I liked about the class with the visual aids is they said, you know, a lot of what has gone into computer science algorithms are natural ways our mind thinks. If I were to hand you a stack of papers with all of our names on them out of order and say, sort them, you would start making piles and be like, okay, here's the M letters, here's the A letters, here's, you know, these letters, and then you would start to make little piles and sort them. Well, there's actually algorithms built off of that mechanism, you know, called merge sort, and there's quick sort. And so once you kind of have that visual in your head, it makes more sense, at least for me. So I was like, okay, the next time I'm having an algorithm, I'm like, imagine it's a stack of papers and see if I can get it in my head. Maybe that will help, maybe it won't. But I thought that was helpful, you know, where it wasn't just like code on the screen anymore. It's like, oh no, that's a real ruled pattern. Like, I see that. I understand why they did that. So that's my quick 5 minutes on data structures. Question, Dawn.
Hashes in that non-primitive data structure?
Hashes are a non-primitive. They weren't on the picture that I pulled up on Google. But I'll show you what they are. So hash tables are very helpful too, and they're usually in there along with stacks and queues. I almost said skews. Maybe I'll make a new data structure off of both of them. So a hash table is basically like an array, but it's considered to be buckets. So for instance, if I had all of us and I needed to sort us quickly and I wanted to do it not alphabetically, but say by our month of the year that we were born, like I might have this hash with 31 different buckets. And then I could say, like, you're born on what day of the month, and you're born on what day of the month, and I'd insert you. But then what happens when two of us are, like, on the 21st day of the month? I'm on the 24th of September. You know, well then 24 might already have me in there. Well, the thing about hash tables, even though it's kind of like an array, it can store any kind of data type in there. So I could say, well, no, I'm going to turn this into a linked list. So I'm going to have Holly, but then I'll point at the next person. Let's say Natalia. And then I could keep sorting as much as I want because this could grow forever and ever and ever. So hash tables are great because they can take in a ton of data. In most languages, you have to specify the length of your array. If you're using a dynamic language like Ruby or Python, it will dynamically assign the length of your array, which is nice, but then I'll have to like re-change it if you're gonna go beyond what it had dynamically assigned to you. Whereas in C, like if you're gonna create an array, you're gonna say, I'm gonna create an array of 12, or I'm gonna create an array of 40, you know, and so you specify up front the amount of memory you're gonna take, because your computer only has so much memory, and so you're trying to, you know, think of the memory that you wanna allocate and make sure you're not taking too much, so you don't run out. So with hash tables, it's more fluid. You can, you know, take in more things. So you'll start and you'll say like the size here, but each of these are just buckets that could contain anything. So hash tables are used a lot. And then again, it's easy because if I want to get something, it's easy to go, you know, just give me bucket number 4, give me bucket number 5, and I don't have to traverse up and down and all the way. So that's a hash table. Is that correct, Dawn?
Yes, and you did a great job.
I
mean it.
Any other questions? Any other types I've forgotten? No, awesome. I get the job. All right, thank you all. That's all the talks for tonight. And unless anyone wants to give an impromptu talk, we're always up for it. But don't feel like you have to. We still have some wine and taco food in the back. And also definitely time for networking. So if you have any questions, we're all going to be around here. And I think Thursday night we have Hack Night South. It's on Slaughter at Orange Co-working. Next week we have Hack Night across the street at Big Commerce, and then the Python class. And at the end of this month, we're launching a Ruby study group at General Assembly. That will be the 4th Tuesday, Ruby Tuesday. So if any of you want to learn Ruby, we'll be there at General Assembly. And that's all for tonight. Thank you for coming. Anyone want to take any pictures before I erase it? My chicken scratch.